Hello, everyone. The first eclipse season of the year is starting on the 20th of April, tomorrow. And right away, it's a very special eclipse because, first of all, it's a hybrid eclipse, which means that it starts off as a full solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse, and it develops into an annular solar eclipse. It depends on how close the moon is to the Earth, because if you look at the sun and the moon, their disk is almost approximately the same size. The moon's disk size depends on how close it is to the Earth, and the closer it is, the larger it appears. So whenever the moon is getting farther from the Earth, then that's when you get an annular solar eclipse. So that's one thing. Also, this is a blue moon. So every year there are 12 months, 12 signs, but 13 new moons. It means that for one sign you will have 2 new moons, and of course the second is called a blue moon. The first one is usually at the very beginning of the sign, and the second one is at the very end of the sign. This varies which sign has these double new moons. It's always astronomical. But this year it is Aries, the sign of war, disruption, fighting, aggression. So it's quite fascinating to me. And of course, the third thing is that it is anaretic, so it's at the last degree of the signs. And in karmic astrology, any anaretic sign means some sort of stopping, some sort of immobility. And at the same time, it is on Astraea, the karma-breaking asteroid. So it's really a fascinating new moon. So let's take a look at the energy patterns. And this will happen in London at 5:12 in the morning on the 20th. And as you know, Bernard Brady worked a lot with the series, the Solar Eclipse series. This belongs to the number 7, and the start chart contains a lot of interesting placements. The start of the series was on October the 3rd, 1103. Now, just to refresh your memory, eclipses are the only phenomenon in astrological lore that have a beginning and an end, and they are not continuous like the rest of the cycles. That is why we don't actually call them cycles, we call them series. And one series takes about 1300 years. And within a series, you have approximately 72, 73 eclipses in one family. And these are, so one starts at, let's say, at the North or the South Pole and ends at the opposite pole. And it starts with a tiny, tiny eclipse on one of the poles. And every 18 years, it repeats itself with the same geometry. So that's how they belong. And actually the Babylonian Chaldean priests already knew about this, that they predicted them, they interpreted them. And of course, in modern times, it was Bernard Brady who decided to only concentrate on the eclipses that are alive and well in our era, which are approximately 38 to 40. And of course, new series are also constantly forming. So this belongs to 7 North. And she said about this, as you can see, this is the original placement for the chart on October the 3rd, 1103. And the sun moon is opposite Pluto and sextile Neptune, and also at the midpoint of Mars, Venus. So it's a very sensual and creative family of eclipse. And there's also Uranus North Node trine, so it gives us potential to change our destiny or to act upon our destiny, as the original series goes. This is what she says about the series. I copied it from her book, Bernard Brady, according to Bernard Brady, sorry, this is the Hungarian. Anyhow, this is what she says. A very sensual family of eclipses ranging from sudden sexual passions and lust to birth and procreative drives. This series is not subtle and can catch people off guard and confront them with their own very deep passion, which may have been hidden for many years. So you might experience some sudden urges, lust, and all sorts of desires, not just sexual, but other desires as well. So you can actually take a look inside yourself and see what crops up there. Here's the eclipse path. As you can see, this will affect Australia mainly, and it won't be visible from Europe at all. So you won't be able to observe the eclipse. And there is a teaching that an eclipse will be effective where you can actually watch it. I don't think so. I do believe rather in the degree of the eclipse, and since this is an Anaretic Aries at the last degrees, I think if you have anything at 29 degrees Aries, it will affect you no matter where you live, whether you can observe it or not. So that's the eclipse path. And here's the London chart. Aries is rising, and there is this big stellium, or almost stellium, because stellium has 3 planets in one sign. And actually, if we consider this, there are asteroids and Chiron and Aries, which are centaurs or TNOs, and not technically planets. So it's not really a stellium in a traditional sense, but you have a huge mass of planets and celestial bodies in Aries. And there's an interesting midpoint structure which we are going to take a look at. So Aries is rising, the vertex is on the descendant, and the vertex is where you don't have free will, and the descendant is either your partner or your enemies. So that's quite interesting for the London chart. And there's also another midpoint structure with the Liliths. Trans-Pluto is at the midpoint of the asteroid Lilith and dark moon Lilith. And if you know the Lilith myths, it has 3 turning points. The asteroid Lilith is the whole archetype of Lilith is a strong feminine who is very outspoken, who can stand up for her needs, who is brave, and also knows what to do. And the asteroid Lilith is the moment in the myth when Lilith says that I don't want to be below you, so she revolts against injustice. The dark moon Lilith is when she accepts the curse of Yahweh and doesn't go back to the Garden of Eden, no matter what the curse is. So I rather accept the curse, but I'm not complying. And then the black moon Lilith is when she goes back into the Garden of Eden and gives Eve the apple so that she will have a soul. So those are, if you are interested in the Lilith myths, I do have videos so you can watch them. I have quite a few in English as well. So here we have the Trans-Pluto at the midpoint, and Trans-Pluto denotes channeling and also dimension jump. And you have the 2 Liliths so kind of like a sandwich, really. At its midpoint, the Trans-Pluto means that you can download any message which is important for you as the feminine. As the revolting feminine. And here's the other midpoint structure, which is the Sun, Moon, and Astraea is at the Jupiter North Node and also at the Vesta Aries midpoint. So how do we interpret this? First of all, this particular Anaretic hybrid solar eclipse is also a life-changing solar eclipse. And what I keep telling you is that we are in between 2 eras. We are transitioning into another era. The transition won't be avoided. We won't be able to avoid. We have to run the waves like a surfer, and we need to understand the changes that are implemented upon us. Unfortunately, the powers that be really want us to become complete slaves, and they really want to tell us what to eat, how to behave, when and how to do things. And so there's going to be a complete slavery of people if they can have their say. Now, there are interesting things happening. If you're watching the news, you can see that Elon Musk talks about the Twitter files, how the American surveillance state, really looked at each and every Twitter account and how they actually surveyed the American people. That's not very nice. But at the same time, it was brought to light. So now we know. And there's another big topic at the moment, artificial intelligence, which is really scary. It's not because what it does, it is because they are teaching it to lie. And that's the problem. If you started to use GPT, you will see how it works, and that is really dangerous. So it's quite yeah, we do live in interesting times. But anyhow, so this midpoint structure is exactly about that. You have the chance with this new moon, this blue moon, this solar eclipse new moon, to actually change your life, to break old embedded karma, to break your karma that is debilitating, but also to change your destiny accordingly. And in order to do that, you need to believe in your own destiny. Jupiter, North Node midpoint. You need to have hope to fulfill what is your destiny. And in order to do that, you need to focus, Vesta, on drastically altered outward circumstances, which are completely powered by the deep state, because they simply want you to suffer. They want you to lose your stability, you lose your security, and because that is the way to enslave you. But if you actually ride the waves, you can see how you can turn this into your benefit as well. And I really trust the ingeniousness of the human mind in order so that we can come out of this victoriously. Anyhow, here are the transcendental objects linked to this midpoint structure. The sun is on Arisha and on Mirach, and also on so Arisha is the knot that ties together the two fish. One fish wants to go back into the karmic wheel, so to speak, and the other one wants to come out of it and wants to leave the incarnation cycle. And Mirach is Beta Andromeda. She is the receptive feminine. On Jupiter, you have Arachne, a hubris asteroid. On North Node, you have Cybele, Darius, and Hannibal, and also Sheraton. And on Vesta, you have the focusing principle. You have Hatshepsut. Sheraton is, of course, Beta Aries, so it's the darker side of the fighting spirit of Aries. On Aries, you have Themis and Hathor. Hathor is the mother goddess, the cow goddess of the Egyptians, and Themis is a pre-Zeusian archetype, a goddess. She used to be the goddess of law and order. And on Astraea, we have the Andromeda galaxy. So these are these transcendental celestial objects. And the next thing, we have an dissociate anaretic mini engine. Engines are made up of 3 different aspects that belong to different family of aspects. Usually there's a square, there's either a trine or a sextile, and one of the karmic aspects. There are 2 karmic aspects, semi-sextile and the quincunx. In this case, you have the semi-sextile, the lesser karmic aspect. So actually what you combine here is the action of the square, the blessing of the trine, and of course karma as the semi-sextile. And it is dissociated because Pluto is already in Aquarius, and the Sun, Moon, and Astraea are still in Aries. So actually this is a square that has a sextile energy. And the semi-sextile is what is exact, not just to the minute, but also energetically. And I was curious whether we have anything else at 0 degrees, and we have a number of important celestial objects in 0 degrees, mostly TNOs and centaurs, and it's only in Virgo that we have 2 asteroids. But funnily, Isis and Persephone are the 2 archetypes that are linked to Trans-Pluto. That's why Trans-Pluto doesn't have a name in karmic astrology, because we either link her to Isis or to Persephone, the 2 wife archetypes who are very committed but very independent at the same time. And that's exactly what Trans-Pluto does, besides channeling and dimension jump. So it's fascinating that Trans-Pluto at the moment is at like 2.5 degrees Virgo, and the 2 name-giving asteroids are right behind her. So in 0 degrees Aries or 1 degree Aries, you have Okiro. Okiro is the daughter of Chiron and Chariklo, and she inherits both parents' unique traits. But as she's a child, she blurts out things that she's not supposed to, and the fates are constantly punishing her, and she doesn't want to suffer anymore. So she turns herself into a horse and doesn't speak anymore. And this denotes karmic wounds around knowledge, whether or not I can tell what I know, whether or not I will be punished. And this is exactly what you see now. You are being punished for saying things that you know, and everyone else knows, but they don't dare to say. If you look at the leaders of the world, most of them are either idiots or imbeciles or totally dishonest figures who are being held as hostage. And also most of the, for instance, in Europe, most of the governments are made up they're like patchworks. They're made up of 2, 3, 4 different parties that want something else, and then you need to negotiate and you need to use diplomacy, which is not bad, of course, but they're not strong enough to carry out what the people want. And there are 2 main leaders who actually stand out. One is ours, our Hungarian leader, who has a huge majority behind him, so he knows what we want, and he has the courage to actually say what he thinks. And he doesn't really want to be PC. And Macron, interestingly enough, Macron, whom I used to call Micron because he was such a mediocre figure. But of course, he is finishing his 2nd term. He won't be able to re-elect it again, according to the rules. So now he's outspoken. Now he can say what he thinks. And all of a sudden, the whole of Europe and the States are up in arms against him. All he said was the truth, that we should not be the servants of the Americans. We Europeans should have like a common strategy, what we are going to do amidst this 3rd World War, which is nicely forming around us. So that's Okiro, actually. That's right there on the Aries point, on the vernal equinox point. And on, of course, we spoke about Astraea, the sun and the moon. Again, I didn't, sorry about that. I was again in a rush, and I didn't correct myself, sorry. There's also a Persephone and S here for whatever reason. And again, you have Sedna at the end of Taurus, very anaretic, but not yet ready to move into Gemini. In Cancer 0 degrees, you have BNR, one of the centaurs who wants to evolve into something better than he is. He is trying to be better, nicer, more sophisticated, more learned. He wants to cultivate the arts and the sciences, and it symbolizes the drive. Wherever you were born, it doesn't really matter. You yourself, your own traits, your own abilities are that matter, and it gives you the drive, the desire, but also the potential to elevate, to become better than you were previously. As I said, on Virgo, you have Isis and Persephone, 2 strong women, 2 strong goddesses. On Scorpio, 0 degrees 001, you have Haumea, a Hawaiian goddess who is constantly pregnant with children, and then she delivers these sons and grandsons, and then she turns herself much younger, and again has children with her own sons and grandsons. It's this constant rejuvenation energy. In Aquarius, you have Pluto, of course. We spoke about this. And in Pisces, the first degree of Pisces, we have Crantor, who is a centaur, but in Ovid's Metamorphoses, he's a human being who suffers in a situation where he suffers a fate that was not meant for him. So it's to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and suffering something that is not originally your karma. That's what Crantor signifies. And again, if you take a look, you can actually see that there are a number of in this very complex planetary picture, you have a number of individual planetary pictures. For instance, there is this fixed water engine between Pluto, Bienor, and Haumea, for instance. But you can actually go back and take a look and try to assess what they are. If it's such a complex planetary picture, I usually take it as a whole. I don't actually dissect it into separate configurations. There is still the mystic rectangle of last week and a couple of days ago with the nodal axis and with the Saturn trans-Pluto opposition. What is new here is that Vesta came to a conjunction. It's a nearing conjunction with the North Node. The North Node signifies our destiny at the moment. What is our destiny as a whole, as the collective whole? To create harmony, security, stability, financial stability, anything linked to Taurus. That should be our task. You should now think about buying land, devising methods how you can actually preserve your food, grow your own food, things like that, because we are running towards a society where we won't have regular money. We will only have this government-backed digital currency, which is total slavery, I'm telling you. Okay, so this is, and Vesta tells us to focus on this. And on the other hand, the South Node in Scorpio means that our ability, our magical abilities coming from the past is something that we should reckon and should count on. And of course, Saturn in Pisces is not very happy in any water signs. The Lord of Karma is not very efficient, to say the least, especially in Pisces, where everything becomes steam. And so whatever you want to solidify won't be able to be, Saturn is ruled by Neptune, that's it. And opposite it is trans-Pluto, dimension jump and channeling. And so the opposition here requires us to pay attention, because what we would need to solidify won't happen because it becomes just evaporates. And at the same time, what we want to channel, that we can do on the solid Virgo grounds and even question it and understand it perfectly well. So that is the mystic rectangle. And as you know, mystic rectangles are a fascinating structure because you have two oppositions. So the inner tension is great, but the accompanying outer structure is flowing aspects. So you can actually ease the tension through them. And here are the transcendental objects. On Saturn, you have Pandora, Gong Gong, and two fixed stars, Fomalhaut, which is the Alpha Pisces Austrinus, the southern fish. Actually, the constellation Aquarius and the southern fish used to be one, so now they are two, but actually they are kind of linked. And Fomalhaut is one of the Persian royal stars, or one of the royal stars of Persia, denoting success through noble dreams, and you need to avoid daydreaming. And then Solar Eclipse is Alpha Aquarius, which is the lucky king, something like that. So it's a luck star. It brings you luck. And Pandora, of course, is the first woman who opened the jar, and all the problems and miseries and tribulations of mankind just came out. But sometimes, yes, you need to open Pandora's box, Pandora's jar, and this is what's happening. So we are learning stuff that we haven't been able to learn. What is, to me, is fascinating in the space-time moment is it doesn't matter. Our leaders became so dishonest and so crooked and so corrupt that no matter what comes out, they're trying to just dismiss it. And yeah, the press is writing about it, people are talking about it, but they're hushing it down, and nothing really happens. There are no consequences. And here Pandora on Saturn suggests that there will be consequences. And of course, Gong is a TNO, an ATNO. It's the huge monster, the dragon that is actually putting a hole into the cosmos. So cataclysm is there. On the south node, you have Sibylla, Darius, and Hannibal. So you have a strong woman, enormous wealth, and a strong general. On Vesta, you have Hatshepsut, the first document and only documented pharaoh, female pharaoh of Egypt. On the transroute, you have Geisha, the ancient feminine role. I'm not going to go. After all, we have the eclipses on sensuality. So here you have it. And there's another interesting archetype on the south node, Nympha, which is a nymph, and we had Pan the other day. So here comes the nymph as well. So this is the energy pattern of the first eclipse in this season. And this is hybrid, anaretic, and also a blue moon eclipse. Use it well, especially when you have things at the cardinal, at the very last degree of the cardinals. You will definitely you will be able to bring it down to on your personal level. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.